similarities with the French system, les OPAC, and one of our speakers will actually will talk a bit more about that. So MFCCI decided to organize this webinar mainly because the HRDF has changes a lot of its process since 2019, making the registration, the submission, and the follow-up process much easier, much user-friendly, much more user-friendly, and much faster than it used to be. And even this improvement have been even strengthened in 2020 upon the crisis, because of the government, through the PRIATIC program, for example, but through many supports to the companies, they decided also to help the HRDF. HRDF created in 2020 new training schemes so that many more employees can benefit. For example, just to give you very interesting information, HRDF asked the training providers to create and to submit new training programs. At the moment, there are about 9,000 training offers which have been submitted by 600 training providers to HRDF and which are waiting for approval, so that the portfolio of training offer must be much higher for the employees. Why? Because many companies actually take the opportunity of this crisis to train their employees, to keep them motivated, to keep also to retain the best performer, and actually to do what they didn't have time to do it before. So at least there are some advantages while we are facing this crisis. Is the training now offered and the training demand is growing. So this webinar will be organized around two topics. The first one, administration and operation. This topic will be conducted by Olivier, who is the director of the French Academy, French languages and soft skills training provider. And the financial and taxes topic will be conducted by Corinne, who is a chartered accountant and auditor certified in Malaysia. But before calling the first speaker, I would like to share with you some key figures on HRDF. So Tina, if you could please share these figures. Very shortly, just to mention you that there are about today, in 2019, there were about 30,000 employers organized by 63 subsectors. We are very far away from the 1 million organization in Malaysia, but one thing which is interesting is there are more and more employers. For example, 4,000 more from 2018 up to 2019, because also HRDF now is really chasing the employer, because so far some of them didn't register, although it's compulsory for companies with more than 10 Malaysian employees. All these companies, most of these companies are in services, and they cover about 2 million employees. The HRDF at the moment offer 10 training schemes for young people, for those who have no knowledge at all on IT, computer, but most of the assistance comes from the scheme Bantuan Latihan, which is actually the scheme which most probably you will use as a company for your employees. The HRDF for the first time reached the 1 million training seats approved in 2019. And most probably, we can assume that in 2020, there will be even more. Interesting enough, and you can see on the slide, it's only 600 trainees who benefit from this training seat. What does it mean? That means that it's more or less the same trainees who actually can benefit sometimes more than one trainee per year. And it's only, and they represent only 25% of the 2 million employees who are supposed to benefit. Means that it shows that how the companies organize their training program. The total financial assistance on average is 655 million ringgit per year. 1/3 for the big services company. And actually, we can see that this financial assistance is very different from one sector to another one, because the technical training are much more expensive. No wonder that the value for the training and the financial assistance provided to the mining and quarrying is much higher. Another interesting thing is actually there are 36 areas of training, but only 5 of them represent 50% of the total financial assistance and total 50% of the training places. And you can see safety, health, strategic training, team building, which is the most popular one in terms of soft skills, of course, and quality and productivity. In terms of training providers, there are about 44,000 plus centers. There is no exhaustive list on these training providers. It's impossible to get one. It's impossible to get an updated one. And more importantly, it's extremely difficult to get any ranking. Although HRDF made a lot of efforts to improve the criteria in terms of quality, many efforts to assess the training providers, is still very difficult for any companies to choose the right training providers. Most of the times, it comes through word of mouth, or because one company has already passed through a training provider, and they try to keep the same one. In terms of certified trainer, and I am one of them, it's even more difficult. There are thousands and thousands for years, and 7,000 have been exempted of the Train for Trainer program, meaning that they got their certification only based on their background, experience, expertise, or maybe some relation. So meaning that the quality of the certified trainers is not that easy. It should change from 2021, since HRDF, at the moment, all trainers are certified forever. But from 2021, HRDF should start the process of assessing the trainer, meaning that some trainers might lose their certification. For those who don't have a lot of experience in terms of trainers, they can do a program, Train for Trainers. And for example, last year in 2019, there were 4,000 more junior profile who actually can operate as a trainer. It means again that the portfolio of trainer is very, very wide. And again, it's everything about word of mouth in order to get the best trainer for your employees. So now I will call on the first speaker, Olivier. who will explain to you the administration and operation process for HRDF.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Okay, good afternoon to all. So just to introduce first myself, so I'm the owner and director of the French Academy, which is a language and soft skill training center in Malaysia. At the same time, so we are registered, of course, as a HRDF training provider, and I am registered as a TTT trainer also. And I have also an experience in France in the professional training, since I run a company for 10 years in the south of France, specialized in professional training. So that's why I'm going to explain you a little bit what is HRDF and what you can benefit by either being registered or if you're already registered, by, of course, going through an application and send your staff for training. So if you can put the slide, Tina. Okay, so first, well, what is HRDF? Elisabeth already gone through quite a lot of things on it. So it's an old institution, already 30 years old. That has really the target, the objective to train and help all the staff in the company to evolve in their career by going on all their career through training, professional training, in order not to be lagging behind in terms of skills and knowledge. So HRDF is something, an organization which is quite efficient, according to what I've seen, because I've been working with them for more than 5 years now. In fact, for me, it's really similar to the French system. I don't know whether they really copy from the French system, but it's really similar in a way that in the French system, for instance, you have what we call OPCA, so Organisme Paritaire Collecteur Agréé, that are different industry organizations that will collect a tax on the wage, on the salary of the employees. Usually it's the same, it's between 0.9 and 1.1% of the total wage of the employee, and will redistribute all this collected tax through training, paying of the training for all the employees of the companies. Of course, company must be willing to train their staff. If not, at the end of the year, they lose this tax credit, because we consider a little bit like a tax credit. So this works the same here. That means that once you pay every year your tax to the HRDF, so be careful, it might change, it might be in a few years from now, SCHONS will be the main collecting agency, but this we don't know yet, it's still in discussion. So far, when you pay, you are entitled to train your staff for until an amount which is 80% of the global amount that you paid through your tax. So this will be, I think, explained later by Corinne as well. So with this training, how it works, you have to first go through a training provider to ask for a training class, a training session. So you need to find out among the 4,000 plus training providers that are registered officially with HRDF. So as explained, Elisabeth, there's just a list. You can find the list of training providers on the HRDF website, but this is just a list, alphabetic list. There's no star, no ranking, nothing. So either, as we say, it's through word of mouth, or you know well one of these training providers. but that's true that there's no real quality control at the moment through it. And legally, each training provider must have a trainer which is certified trainer, what you call TTT for train the trainer. So it must be a certified trainer, and roughly active trainer, you have roughly between 15,000 and 20,000 at the moment in Malaysia. Okay, so once you have this training provider and this trainer, then of course you have to apply for the HRDF to be able to have your staff trained. So for that, you have a few different things. That means that you have intra-company and inter-company. Inter-company means a little bit like I did a few months ago, associations such as the Malaysian Rubber Association that will gather together a few employees from all of their members. It can be Atalega, it can be whatever company, and they're going to train all these people through 1, 2, 3 days, but they're going to be trained what you call among the association, but it's different companies. So we call it inter-companies training. And you have, of course, intra-company. That means that the training provider will train the employees only of one company at a time. So you have now, it's getting easier to understand because it was quite complicated lately on the HRDF side, but they just refound everything and start, I would say, everything from scratch in 2021, and it will be way easier to understand. You don't have anymore, like last year, for instance, to find a training provider that has already a registered program in order to be able to claim your training. Now, everything will be in a more simple way. And on the payment side, it's also quite easy to understand. That means if you want to train from 1 to 4 employees, you are entitled to 1,300 ringgit per day per employee. So after the number of days are determined, of course, by the training provider and agreed or not with the HRDF according to your taxation limit, yearly taxation limit. And you have above 4 employees, so from 5 employees onwards, you have to, you'll be able to be entitled to 5,000 ringgit per day per group. So a 3 days training from a training provider can be charged until 15,000 ringgit. Everything above is no more paid or taken in charge by the HRDF. Application procedure today is quite simple. You have all the elements and the guidelines on the hdf.com.my website. So I find it quite simple. It's in Malay, in English, but not complicated at all to do. So you just need to follow the registration process and apply online. If it's rejected, you just apply again because usually they can reject for whatever reason, a little bit like in France. It can be just because you apply for 20 hours, they accept 15, or a few different small issues. But most of the time, the first or the second time, it is accepted. And well, once the registration process is done, what they do, usually if it's inter-companies, the HRDF will pay, normally direct the training provider 30% first, and after the training, the balance of 70%, provided you give back all the attendance form and all the things that they need to have through the application procedure. For the company, usually it's different. Usually the company will pay the training provider and will claim to the HRDF whatever has been paid through the agreed amount taken in charge by HRDF. I think I've been through most of it so far. So if you have any question, please, after the Q&A session, ask me, because to me it's quite simple because I've been inside in Malaysia, in France for quite long now, but maybe there are a few more questions that you want to ask that are maybe not clear yet for you. Elisabeth?
Thank you very much, Olivier. So now we can call the second speaker, Corinne.
Yes.
I'd like to know on something which is very interesting for everyone, taxes.
Yes, okay. Just a quick introduction on myself. I'm a chartered accountant and auditor. I have been doing this for quite a long time now, and including 11 years in Malaysia. So the reason why I can come into contact with HRDF is more on my client as a payroll agent. So as payroll agent, it is our duty to make sure that the company is complying with whatever regulation is applicable to them. And as such, I just would like, before I go to taxes, I just would like to remind that HRDF contribution is compulsory for all companies as soon as they reach 11 Malaysian employees. And the contribution would be 1% of the total salaries. It's important to know the process. Once you reach 11 staff, you are supposed to fill a questionnaire and ask HRDF whether you are you must comply with HRDF or not. The reason being that HRDF is compulsory for 63 sectors, and for some of your activities, it's not compulsory, but it's up to the HRDF to decide. So you have the obligation to fill that form. And in most of the cases, they may come back saying that you're not, it's not compulsory in your case, but you have to fill that form. So that's something very important for the HR department. Otherwise, you can be fined for this. Coming to tax, I'd like to start with personal income tax first. As a person in Malaysia, Malaysia is encouraging the education further. And so they allow any individual resident in Malaysia to claim for 7,000 of fees that have been incurred for education fees. Education fees paid for any recognized institution or professional body in Malaysia. Masters and doctorate are all eligible. And the privileged area for tertiary education, not being masters or doctorate, will be law, accounting, finance, technical, industrial, scientific, or technological skills or qualifications. So that's as an individual, when you file your own EBE form, that's the amount of 7,000. So that's really related to education. It is not training. It's not professional training as to say. Now coming to corporate tax, you can be entitled those. So the rule, of course, is that corporate tax, any expense is tax allowable if it has to do with the company object and if it has to do with the employee. Of course, your family cannot be, the cost that could be incurred by your company for a parent or for your kids is not something that can be deducted from your taxable income. But if those rules applies and you are entitled for a simple deduction, you can just take this expenses in your as a minus in your taxable income. You can get more actually, and that's a very nice incentive that Malaysia is giving to companies in order to help the country to raise the level of skills that they are required to be a performing economy. They offer you some double deduction. So any expenditure on approved training can be subject to a double deduction. It means if you incur a cost of 1,000, you can deduct 2,000 from your taxable income. It means basically that they give you 25% more discount on the training. So that's a financial incentive to help companies to go for more training. So what are the conditions to get this double deduction? So it's on approved training. It has been expanded on all recognized certifications and qualification if it's issued by a Malaysian body, and also to all the approved training on the industry linked to the Industry 4.0 program. So an approved training, what it is, it's a training for which the trainer has asked for the recognition of this training to some ministry. So for instance, for non-manufacturing company, or training linked to a manufacturing company, for instance, the approval must be asked by MIDA. For non-manufacturing, the approval must be granted by the Ministry of Finance. You have some special incentive for hotel and tour operating, for handicapped persons as well. And also the general double deduction is for all training approved by the Ministry of Finance and its agencies, which are really broad. So it means that if we come back to what Elisabeth and Olivier were saying, it means once you decide, so once you go through that long list of 4,000 possible providers, it's also one important thing to check is whether their program has been approved or not, and whether you can benefit for this double deduction, which is a nice gift in terms of finance. So that's the framework on tax. Just to remind you that on November 6th, the budgets were supposed to be announced. I don't know if that date will be kept. Yeah, I'm doubtful also, but we don't know. And but they might be, because the budget is always a way to accompany and give new measures for where the government wants the country to go. So it might be some new incentive that can be included in that budget. There are some guesses at the moment, because in 2015, when the government wanted some help for the woman after maternity to be back on track at work, they launched a special project that was the double deduction for cost of implementing flexible work arrangements. So this one could be really appropriate at the time being. So it might be reinstated, but we're just waiting for these announcements, hopefully on November 6th. So that's the basic framework, and I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Corinne. Now we can move to the Q&A session. So starting from the floor, is there any question, Tina?
No, we don't have any questions. So I think there's two ways for the participants to ask their question. Either they can unmute their mic and directly ask for the question, or if their audio is not working, they can use the chat box to ask their questions. Okay,
thank you very much, Tina. I have 2 or 3 small information to provide. The first thing is although it's allowed to have to provide a coaching program, meaning the training for only one person, I have to tell that usually HRDF doesn't like it. So they very seldom approve a coaching program. So in that case, if you really need to train one person only for very specific topic, I have to tell you that there is one way to overtake the situation by building a program with 2 employees officially, and of course only one will benefit and will attend. But 2 employees officially will attend the program and of course will sign the attendance form, because this is the only way, but the best way in order to get the approval from the HRDF. The second thing is regarding the foreign employees. I remind you that HRDF is only for Malaysian employees. There are a lot of French companies which would like to have some French employees to benefit from trainees. Actually, you can. It's important in that case to just to put them in the group of your Malaysian employees in any training courses, to inform HRDF that there might be some foreigners who might participate as visitor at this program, but never mention them as official trainees who can benefit from the program. They just inform the HRDF that there might be some foreign visitors as trainees. Again, it's not fully honest, but this is the only way to also help some of your French employees to benefit this program. If you don't, as I mentioned, there are a big list of training and provided by thousands of training centers. However, you might not find the specific training you need for one or your employees. So in that case, I have to tell you that feel free to work closely with the trainer, in order to build a tailored training program, and to submit this tailored training program to HRDF. Most likely, the HRDF will approve this program, as long as you properly explain why you do so, which topics, the schedule, and again, the employee who will benefit this program. HRDF, since 2019, and we assume that even more now in 2020, actually will do its best to approve the training programs you are interested in. But it's very important to explain properly why you conduct such stellar program. And one thing also, which is in terms of approval, I think you can easily submit 3 times. Most, as mentioned, Olivier, most of the time, HRDF approve the program, particularly if it's not a tailored program, they might automatically approve the program. Although in case of rejection, you can adjust the program and submit one more time. At least I think that until 3 times, you can easily get finally a final approval. After 3 times, it will be much more difficult to submit training program. That otherwise you have to change everything, the content, the employees, and everything regarding the program. So do your best to get, in case of rejection from HRDF, it's important to get their feedback, and so that you can understand the reason why they decline your submission, and so that you can adjust accordingly. I also remind you that the service can be rendered from remote, and particularly at the time. However, it has to be, most of them has to be rendered in Malaysia, on the territory, in the territory of Malaysia. It cannot be overseas. So meaning, if you have any Malaysian employees, for example, working in France, so you cannot claim anything for any training provided and rendered in France. This is what I had to add regarding the training session. Tina, do we have some?
Yes, we actually have 3 questions, but I think you have answered one of them, because one of the question was like, if we send staff overseas for training, can we claim HRDF? So you made it very clear that the training has to be in Malaysia. Another simple question is, for companies that have less than 11 employees, do they still need to pay HRDF?
Yes.
Olivier?
Yes, they still need. In fact, it's not compulsory. Compulsory is above 10 employees. So between 5 and 10 employees is optional. And they have to pay only 0.5% instead of 1% in terms of annual wage. But if they are eligible through one of the 63 subsectors, yes, they can, on a voluntary basis, subscribe and apply for HRDF.
Or they can ask for their registration if they are not interested. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Corinne, and thank you, Olivier. We have another question, and this is coming from a company who has already registered for HRDF. So it says we have applied for the registration and it was rejected due to our nature of business. Our nature of business was not listed, okay? The nature of business was not listed and subjected in the list of companies under PSMB Act 2001. So they were rejected. So they're asking you, do you have any suggestion on how they can reapply?
Oh, well, good question. I would suggest to try through a branch, if the branch has a different registration with the SSM, because it comes from the SSM. Because if not, they cannot wait until, I know that every year they include new sectors, new subsectors, but instead of waiting, the solution might be either to go through the industry association, what I call a little bit like the Malaysian Rubber Association for rubber industry. It might be, you might have a solution through this organization association.
There is another thing, because I can see who is asking this question, and so I know that I understand the activity of this company. There is one thing: if the company anyway have been approved as an employee and is under one of the 63 subsector, there is actually no reason to be rejected because of the nature of the business. This company has been approved thanks to the nature of the business, so there is no reason to be rejected for that, unless, and it depends, maybe you have to double check. It also depends on if you have different activities. It depends on under which activities you have submitted the training.
Right.
So I really recommend you in that case to revert back to HRDF and to get more information, to get more feedback on what does it mean by the nature of business. Because again, as long as they approve you as an employer, there is no reason for you to reject your submission.
There's few ways where you show your activities. You have the object of your constitution. Sometimes this was written 20 years ago, and you don't really it doesn't really describe exactly the activity that you have. It's also the activity code that you're choosing for your tax return. And this also might not be reflecting all the activity that you have. So maybe on the narrative that you gave, you gave some information on your activity, but once they checked with SSM or with IRB, it was not reflecting accordingly. That might be one reason as well.
Yes.
I'm just talking on top of my mind because I don't know exactly your case, but that could be really well something that could trigger this problem.
Right. And again, it's everything about how you present and you package the training you want to provide to your employees. It's a reason why it's very important to get feedback with detailed information if you get any rejection from the HRDF. And again, as I mentioned, up to 3 attempts, it should be okay. Tina, do we have another question?
No, we don't have any more questions. So one last call for question, maybe. Anybody else, if they have any question, you can always unmute and ask your questions, or you can leave your questions at the chat box.
Okay, so if we don't have any other question, I would like to thank all of you. And Olivier, Corinne, and myself will remain at your disposal. Should you have any questions, so you can drop an email to the MFCCI, and we will be happy to help you. I would like to mention that HRDF again revamped its website. Now again, it's much more user-friendly, and all additional information can be easily collected on this website. The purpose at the moment for the HRDF and for the even I would say for the government is to push companies to train their employees, because we are all facing an unprecedented situation. The crisis now gives much more opportunity to the company to provide their trainings, and the government at this time can really help in that case. This is, I would say, this is the best time now, at least to provide and to try. Thank you very much to anyone.
Thank you.
And stay safe.
We'll try.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Merci.
Bye. Merci. Au revoir à tous.
Voilà.
Bye-bye. Thank you.